Well, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Rocking Midlife Podcast. And I am joined today with an absolutely amazing lady. She's a bit of a mentor of mine, and I know that you're going to be so inspired. Please welcome Robyn Pearce.
Hi, Kat. Great to be with you.
It's wonderful to have you here, Robyn. I'm so looking forward to the little gems of wisdom that you've already been dropping in our conversation. So bear with me, everybody, especially on YouTube. I'm just going to read a little bit about Robyn. Now, I met Robyn through the Professional Speakers Association here in New Zealand. So I met her probably about 2 years ago, I think. And Robyn is actually a CSP, which is a Certified Speaking Professional, which basically means you got the epaulets. You've done amazing.
Oh,
so,
I have got epaulets.
You got the epaulets. There you go. She's wearing epaulets, podcast people. So here's just a little bit about Robyn. I just want you to hear this story. And then when we put it in context with her whole story, you're going to be blown away. So Robyn is actually the past president from 2006 and 2007 of the Global Speakers Federation. So she was not just the big wig in New Zealand, she was running the whole global federation. And the member countries in that global federation include the US and Canada and UK and Australia, New Zealand, South Africa. It's basically right around the world, like I said. Robyn is a CSP, which a Certified Speaking Professional, and she was the first in New Zealand. There you go. Didn't even know that, which is so exciting because that meant a woman was the first in New Zealand. And only about 6% of speakers who belong to the worldwide Global Speakers Federation actually hold that level in their business. And as the international standard that they agree represents a high degree of competence and professionalism in the speaking profession. As well, she is a past president here in New Zealand, and she's also a Spirit of Excellence Award winner for excellence in the speaking profession and contributions to the speaking industry of New Zealand. So an amazing lady. But what I really love about Robyn is when you hear her background, you're going to be so encouraged that this incredible person with all these accolades has not actually been a speaker all of her life. So Robyn, tell us a little bit about yourself. I'm going to throw you in the deep end here. Give us the story.
Yeah. Well, I'll just swing off what you just said there, Kat, about not being a speaker all my life. I certainly haven't.
Yeah.
I can remember when my children were quite young. My oldest son would have been 7, and I was doing Bible in schools in the local school that he attended. And I can remember for half an hour, I had to keep a classroom of 7-year-olds entertained. My knees were knocking, my palms were sweating. I was terrified. So that was a very early example of I wasn't a speaker. I could yell at the kids, but and then years later, and there's a whole lot of extra story to fill in, but years later, I can remember when I was not sure what I wanted to do. I was in between assignments, we could say.
Yeah.
And I was working with a woman, doing a little part-time work with a woman who had a speaking business. She came in one day and she said, "Oh, Robyn," she said, "I've told this particular breakfast organization that you will speak for them." I'm going, "What?" Yes, you can tell them your story. And this is like, well, goodness me, 35 years ago, probably.
Yeah.
I go, "Me?" So that was a bit of a shock. And anyway, so I did that. And then a few other things happened. And then one day I ended up being introduced, the same woman introduced me to an organization helping people at Auckland City go back into employment. And it was called a Be Your Own Boss program.
Mm.
So I went off, and all of this I was doing for no fee, of course. This lady said, "Oh, yes, Mary said you could speak about your story." And then she said, "What are you knowledgeable about?" And I was just starting to get knowledgeable about time management. So actually that would be just less than 30 years when I think about it. She said one day, "Could you come and talk about time management?" So I did a little bit about that. And then the next time she rang me, she said, "I can't keep using you for free, Robyn. Would you accept $25?
Oh. Oh, wow.
My first paid gig was $25. Well,
that's gorgeous.
Need to put a couple of zeros on there at the least these days. So that was it.
That's amazing. And what I love is that topic of time management, which I didn't mention in your introduction, is actually what grew into your business, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So I should mention everybody, sorry, Robyn is known as the time management queen or the time queen down here in New Zealand. So that she's owned that space. So sorry, go on.
Oh, I was going to say the reason I got into that was because I was bad at it. And people will look at me in a bit of a shock, but that was one of my many careers was when I was a real estate agent. And I was a good real estate agent, but I was very bad at managing my time and I ended up doing burnout on multiple occasions.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And then one day having a conversation with some friends on the weekend, and I was complaining about not enough time. To be honest, I was having a pity party, Kat.
Oh.
Moaning and complaining. Yeah. And then eventually Tony turned to me in some frustration and he said, oh, for goodness sakes, Robbie, go and get a decent diary. So
light bulb.
Yeah, well, yes, it was. But the thing about it wasn't just the diary, it was the tapes, and they were tapes for the younger listeners, the tapes that came with it. For the first time ever in my life, I came across the principles behind the way we make choices with our time. And it was like somebody switched the light on. It was amazing.
That's incredible. And because you took that subject, and what I love is it was a subject that you weren't an expert in. It was actually something you were struggling to learn, but then you turned your learning into an amazing legacy of books and programs, and you've gone on to work for so many companies and so many individuals, teaching them how to do likewise, haven't you?
Well, I have, and around the world too, actually.
Yeah. So
yes, I've done quite a bit of work in England.
That's amazing. And
that's... And a lot of Australia too, because I lived in Australia for 4 years.
Oh, right. Okay. I didn't realize you lived there as well. So where were you in Australia?
In Sydney.
Ah, that's where my family. Sydney. Where I came from before I moved over here many years ago. So what I love about Robyn's story is not so much that she's this amazing speaker, but when you look at Robyn's background, she's someone who's just struck out and had a go. And I'm not just kind of, crawling here when I say this lady is a role model, because she really is, because I'm someone who's also loves to try different things and has tried different careers and pathways through my life. And it wasn't out of because I hated something so much, as I love to learn and grow and try new things. So Robyn, tell us, how many careers have you had?
Well, you'd asked me that question prior to our conversation, and I had to stop and think about it. I was quite surprised to find it was 7.
That's cool.
And, so there was, first was a librarian, then I was, and I'm definitely calling being a farm wife and mum, I'm calling that a career, because it was
absolutely.
full time raising 6 kids, as it turned out to be eventually. Then marriage breakup, ended up with various jobs whilst I was on the solo parent benefit in the far north, which included, there might have been more than 7 actually, but that included a dabble in tourism, and then ended up in Auckland. Real estate was the next major career. There was, where are we up to? I think I can't remember. Anyway, so there was real estate, and then there was, I had deeply involved with a network marketing business for a while, and then started doing this part-time work for the lady that had a training business. She was the one that kept on saying, a bit about time management, because you've learnt about it for yourself. Yeah. Why don't you go and start doing something about it? So I did that. And now I see myself more as a full-time writer and a part-time educator.
Wonderful. And I love this, because you went from being a single mother of 6 kids, and one of those was a special needs child too, from what I understand.
Foster son.
Yeah, foster son. So 6 children, and you managed to not only survive, but you've actually made your way from being this single mum to someone who was the president of the World Global Speakers Association. I mean, that is phenomenal, and that is so inspiring to women who might be in that same position, especially as single mums, surviving on a benefit, thinking, how the heck can I ever get ahead in my life? And yet you're someone who did that. What do you think? Did you have a burning desire just to do more and succeed, or is it what got you from there to where you've been?
I often think about this, and one of we all have different motivations, and I recognize about myself that one of my motivations is when somebody says I can't do something, I go, well, we'll just see about that. I can remember, for example, being multiple things that happened when I was in the far north and on the benefit of a number of different pivotal conversations with people, or things that I was meant to hear, and sometimes things I wasn't meant to hear. That basically, it's like there was one guy that said to his mate in the Kaitaia pub, "Oh, she's just the solo mum that works in the office." There was, I was working in the school library at that stage. There was somebody else who said, "That's Robyn who comes to do the typing," when I'm a qualified librarian working in the school library, using my library skills. There was somebody else that said, "If you go to Auckland, they'll throw you on the scrap heap." And I'm going, well, we'll just see about that. All of those kind of things. So that's definitely been part of the motivation. But the other thing is that I also, I love to learn. And so if I'm given a challenge, I'll always look to see how I can overcome that. For example, learning to, I've written a lot of nonfiction books, and I found that relatively easy. But now I'm writing historical fiction, which I don't think I told you about, Kat.
No, I'd heard a whisper on the rounds, but yeah.
Right. So my first historical novel now came out, but it took me 3 years to write that, because I had to learn to write fiction, which is very different from writing nonfiction. And then if you're going to be an indie published author, that's another whole world. So I'm on this next career, seriously, learning how to publish in a completely different world, in a completely different way. And all of the technology things, like my kids think it's hilarious that I've got some of my sons are really good with Excel. I'm now at my age having to confront Excel.
You know what's really funny? I had to sit in a call with a lady the other day who wanted me to fill something in a spreadsheet, and Excel's been something I've had nothing to do with either, and I had to get the daughter-in-law to sit in next to me just to explain, because it's something I've never had to use. So
yes, every now and again I'll ring one of them and say, "Look, keep it really simple. Don't tell me any more than I am asking. How do I do X, Y, Z?" And so bit by bit I'm learning, because you need to have Excel to do a number of the things in the marketing side of things. So so to answer your question, what motivates you and drives you, but also what lures you on. And for me, it's I love to learn.
Yeah, and that is exactly what I say about myself too. I love to learn. I'm one of these people who's like a course junkie. I have so many digital courses, like so many that I can't even finish them at all. But I love to, that looks amazing. I'll grab that and grab that. And other people collect, I don't know, beer caps or whatever. I collect digital courses. I just love information.
Well, there's another thing, actually, I'll just throw in a couple of time tips every now and again as we go along, is one tip, and I'm constantly having to watch myself on that, because whilst I love to learn, I'm also an optimist as well. And so I think that I'll always be able to fit more in. And even just in the last 24 hours, 48 hours, I've gone through an exercise of one of the wonderful people that I listen to on podcasts relating to indie publishing and writing recommended a particular author who's got some amazing courses, and he's the guy that really promoted J.K. Rowling and so on and so on. And he's got this really special bundle at the moment for, I think, $199, but it's only for a year. You can access all of his courses. And I'm holding myself back, because I've got already courses that I've paid for, that I haven't finished using. They've got masses of really cool information that has got enormous value. And I've got books that I've downloaded that are experts. And I'm going, Robyn, do not waste your time and your money, because there's pressure on you.
You really have to discipline yourself, don't you? I read something a while ago, and it was a guy talking about this very thing. And the problem you can fall into, particularly me when I need to do marketing, to get clients for my business, is that you start getting excited about these courses and learning, and you get such a buzz out of that you'll complete your day thinking, I've had such a great day, but you haven't earned any money. You actually haven't done anything in your business. You've just had this hit of adrenaline from learning, and you kind of got to balance both when you're working as well as learning.
And the little phrase, and I'm sure you've heard it, Kat, is just beware of the bright, shiny object
Oh, yes.
syndrome.
Yes, yes. You know how you talk about time management because that's something you dealt with. I talk about bright, shiny objects with my clients, and it comes totally out of the battles I have in not jumping and getting excited at every bright, shiny, knowledgeable item out there. So it's amazing how that happens, isn't it?
There's another thing, actually, I'll just throw this one in because it's a conversation I had with my oldest son and some of the people that he is working with at the moment. He got me to come down to his house recently and talk to this group of agricultural scholars. And he said, I want you to talk about closing the loops. And that's a really interesting phrase because what a lot of people feel already pressured with too much going on. And we've just alluded to some examples in our own personal experience, but that's normal for people to overload themselves with too many things. And if we can just, as much as we can possibly, finish things to a stage that's appropriate. Now, it doesn't mean they have to be perfect or absolutely finished in the full sense of the word, but to have reached some stage of conclusion or completion that's appropriate for you and whatever that task is. And for example, we were talking before you pressed the record button about an association that we both know about and have been involved with. And there are times when you've done enough in an organization or you've done enough with a field of study and you don't know everything, but you don't need to.
Yeah, that's really good wisdom right there. Yeah. So it's knowing, gosh, it's so funny. Like I said, we cross on so many topics here. In the latest 21 Hacks book that I've just done the first draft of, I talk about when I was a child, when I was at primary school, I had a bit of talent for art. So mum and dad popped me in some art classes outside of school time. And they had an exhibition for all of us at our local library. And I'd painted a portrait of a girl. It looked quite lovely with the dark hair and everything, but I couldn't put the paintbrush down. And I kept going back and I kept fiddling with her hair. And in the end, she ended up with this whopping big thing of brown hair halfway across the face. And that was it. It had to go up. And every time when I went to the exhibition and saw it, my heart sank because I hadn't, like you said, closed the loop. I hadn't just put it down and gone, it's done. It might not be perfect, but then what work of art that someone creates is ever perfect? But I should have left it. But I couldn't. I kept fiddling and fiddling and fiddling. And very good advice there. So one thing I warned Robyn in advance, so people listening don't think, oh, that's so rude. Okay, but we're going to talk about age because this podcast is called Rocking Midlife. And to me, midlife is basically anywhere from late 30s, early 40s to whenever. I've never put a cap on it because I really think a lot of it is your own vibrancy, your own energy, what's in your head, how you view age. More importantly, probably how you don't view age and just living it. And Robyn is, again, another role model here. So, Robyn, would you mind telling us how old you are, please?
Oh, sure. I'm really happy to tell people that I'm 73.
Phenomenal. Like those of you who are seeing Robyn on YouTube will be going, wow, because you're the epitome of someone who is vibrant and you're looking beautiful. And that is what we need to see. Because we've got all these midlifers out there now. I mean, you probably don't look on Instagram, but because that's the demographic I work in with midlife women, I'm always looking what's out there. And it's all about fashion, really. So many of them, it's like, look at me, look at my fancy clothes, look how good I look still at 50 or 55. But what I love about you is it's not just about the fact that you look radiant, it's about the fact of you're still going, you're still giving, you're still creating. So tell everybody, how many grandchildren have you got, Robyn?
Well, I'll come back and talk more about the age thing too in a minute, but 17 grandchildren. And I suppose they keep you young too, but I'm not just going to take that one on as the reason that I feel young. I do feel young. I love my 17 grandchildren. They range in age from 7, I think Bethany is now, through to, I think Sam's 23, something like that. So the five children, like the foster son had no children, but my 5 kids have gone forth and multiplied. And they're really great.
Yeah.
If I can just go back to the age thing.
Please do.
I'm really happy to share my age because I feel as older women, we have a responsibility to help people realize that you're not old when you turn 50
A number.
or
Yeah.
60 or any number whatsoever. You are what you are, and be proud of it. I decided a few years ago, I had been dyeing my hair. I'd gone from dark as a young woman to out of the bottle blonde once I got quite grey.
Yeah.
Oh, stuff it. I'm who I am, and I don't care what colour my hair is. Let me be natural. And so I'm really proud of my grey. I had one lady said one time, somewhat younger than myself, who had also gone down the same thinking road. This is wisdom, she said, pointing to her hair. This is my wisdom.
Yeah,
I was
love
like,
it.
nice point, yes. But there are so many awesome role models out there, Kat,
Yeah.
with aged people of older ages. Like I know of several people who are 100. And
Wow.
like one of them, Lloyd Gearing, many people won't even know who Lloyd Gearing is today, but he was very controversial head of Knox College in Dunedin many years ago,
Right.
who was actually taken to court. I'll leave you with that so people can go and look it up for themselves.
I'm curious now.
I met Lloyd a few years ago. He is the most amazing man. He was, at the time, he was just 100. He's still alive today. He was, the next day was going to be meeting with his publisher for the next book. He was on to his third wife. The two previous ones had died.
Oh, no.
I'm not sure whether Shirley's still alive. Lovely lady. She was in her 90s. He was still walking half an hour every day, and just vibrant and alert. And I'm going, you're my man. You're my role model. I really love your energy. And I think it was all the things that we talked about before, just an inquiring mind and loving life. Now, people that don't have health issues, of course, are blessed. Or serious health issues. So I'm grateful for that, for sure.
Yeah.
But I do really feel it's important that we let people know that age is only a number, like you say.
It is. And I love that you're still learning new things and learning all about publishing, and which, by the way, you can fill me on, because I've got some of those half-done publishing courses there too. I'll do the quick route and book a session with you. I think that, it's not just about wearing trendy clothes, is it? It's an attitude. It's about how you live and how you learn and what you're giving back to people, and that all plays a part of it. So what would you, I guess you've already said so much. What's some words of wisdom that you would have for the woman who's hitting midlife thinking, oh my gosh, is this it?
Well, what else extra can I say? Is value your time, because and yes, that's pretty obvious for somebody that's a time management specialist, but it's very easy for the weeks and the months and the years to just drift on by. So let's just go back to some really pragmatic time tips, in fact. On the back of my business card, so that's my business card, but on the back of it, this is a tip for anyone that's doing marketing. The light's it's not really showing very well, but there you go. So I've got 8 top time tips for you. So if you are still doing business cards, folks, get them on the back of your business card, and people will often hang on to them. So one here is every week block in a few important non-urgent actions. So for example, you and I both write as Kat. So I don't know when you do your writing best, but myself, I'm a morning person. If I don't do my writing when I've got my higher energy, nothing happens. So another tip on there is don't go to email first, because if you go to email, you've got a pretty good chance you're not going to get anything.
You don't come out of it.
Done. It just becomes this black hole if the screen's on, or if you leave the screen on all the time. Constant distraction. And distractions and interruptions will steal our high quality focus. So there's a couple of things. Another one actually is, and this applies to any age, is to eliminate clutter.
Yes, these are all the things I talk about too. Yes, you are so right. Yes.
Because and when I run my when the paper wall workshops in companies, which I still do from time to time, I say to them when we're talking about sorting out offices and things, is sorting out your office is the fastest stress reducer in town.
Mm.
And it comes back to those closed loops that we talked about before.
Yes. So true, because you've got the closed loops, and then you've also got the sensory overwhelm, because you're taking in so much information that you can't then focus on the task at hand, can you? And I'm such a biggie about decluttering. As I sit with a bit of a mess here, I should say, but that's because I've actually been doing another declutter over the last few months, and I'm in the room where it's kind of the last stop before it leaves the house, But I love that. I love that. Okay, Robyn. Well, look, I'm thinking I get so excited. I've got so many things to ask you and everything. Tell us quickly about your novels that you're writing. Are they all around the one theme, or are you covering something different, so we can go look you up? Yeah.
They're on Amazon. Well, the first novel is on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more than halfway through the second one. And under the name of Robyn Pearce, just to differentiate from the nonfiction. So this first one is, and it can, any local bookshop can order them too, because they're also available on print on demand from Ingram Spark, which is a big multinational print company, print on demand company. It's about freedom. This first book is called It Happened on Fifth Street, and the subtitle, A Tale of Forgotten Heroes. And it's based on real people and real events set in America in the 1830s and early 40s. And it's basically about the Underground Railroad.
Wow. What inspired you to write that? See, we're here in New Zealand. What inspired you to write a book set there?
Because some of the people, the family that I've written the story about are my ancestors. And one of the sons and his wife and family eventually immigrated to New Zealand. And not eventually, in 1856, bringing with them the letters and the documents and a whole lot of stuff. And they kept on corresponding with their American relations for years and years and years. And that material I was given a few volumes of transcripts of some of these letters. And even just a couple of weeks ago, I was down in the Alexander Turnbull Library, just having a look at the originals, which are deposited there, which is fantastic, and so on and so forth. But they were really brave and courageous, and they suffered dramatically. They were English people, so not of not a coloured race, but they had gone to America and then got swept up in the terror and the sin, I would go so far as to say, of slavery and the consequences of that. They were thrown in prison. The men were all thrown in prison. Their properties were destroyed. They suffered greatly for their beliefs.
Wow.
So, and it's set in two places, in Utica, New York State, and also in Cincinnati. So the big riots happened in Cincinnati, which is on the border of the south end of Ohio, which was a border state with Kentucky, which in those days was a slave state.
It was a Confederate, Wow, that sounds fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. So it took you a few years, you said, to write that?
3 years, yes. Yeah. Because I was at the same time, in that 3 years, I also rewrote all my nonfiction books.
Of course you did, because you had nothing else to do, right? Oh my goodness. And how many of them were there? Let's see. 8. So she rewrote 8 books while writing this massive historical novel. Hello. Because that's normal.
Well, anyway, I did.
Oh my gosh.
I wanted to get the nonfiction books up on Amazon as well, before I really got completely entrenched in fiction. And a friend had said, well, you should have them on Amazon. So I did it. And when I looked at them, I realized they needed updating. And many of them, because technology has changed so much, so I updated them. But I will confess that although a number of them have been bestsellers in New Zealand and Australia, to be honest, I haven't given them enough love on Amazon yet. So they haven't got much in the way of reviews or anything. But one of these, that's part of my program at the moment, is going backwards and revitalizing the nonfiction. It's actually really good stuff. It just needs to have a bit of indie love on it now.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, having read some of your books myself, I can verify they are very good, and they're just so practical. They're not highfalutin, concepts. Robyn's the master of giving you nice, actionable, practical, common sense type steps, aren't they? And that's what makes them so good. So what would be, out of all your books on time management, what would be ideal, do you think, for the average midlifer? Is there one in particular you'd think would be?
Yeah, well, you didn't tell me you were going to ask that, but
Sorry.
No, I got the
I think
book
of these things as I go,
Yeah, no, that's fine. So this one, let me see, can we see it?
Yes.
Getting a Grip on Time Management is the updated version of the first book, which was called Getting a Grip on Time. That one covers, it's got a good coverage of pretty much most things. If somebody's only a dipper in and out, you just want quick tips. This one is about time. So that's 120 tips for those with no time. For anyone that's a bit, if any of your listeners still have children at home, there's this one, Getting a Grip on Parenting Time.
Wow, that would be a good one.
So it's time management tips.
Yeah.
Tips book for parents. This one is Getting a Grip on the Paper and Email War. So that's an update on the original one, which didn't have much about email. That's had to be completely changed. And there's more. But can I just show you my novel?
Oh, yes, please. And I should add to everybody, podcasters, obviously you're not seeing the images, so make sure you go to the YouTube channel where you can. But I'm also going to be adding all of Robyn's links below. So if you're going, oh, wow, need to get that, all her links are going to be available on all of the sites. Okay, so show us your book.
You see all of them on Amazon. and here's the other one.
I love that.
Great.
Yeah.
And I just got an email yesterday. I'd submitted the book into international competition, and I just got an email from them saying it's been selected for because of its cover for a shortlist on one of the parts of the competition.
Fantastic.
Had a really cool guy in England that did this beautiful cover.
Yeah.
So,
here's hoping.
And great reviews too about the excitement of the story and the quality of the research. So I'm really happy about that.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, here's hoping that you get the little badge you can add to that book, for your little award for that. That would be cool, wouldn't it?
Wouldn't that?
Yeah. Robyn, I just want to thank you. I keep saying it over and over and over, but I love your vibrancy. I love that here you are at 73, trying new things, learning about publishing now, and just not afraid to go try again, try something new, keep learning. And I just really want to thank you for coming on, because I know there's going to be so many ladies inspired for having heard your story.
My pleasure, Kat.
Cool.
And I love the work that you're doing too. You really inspire people yourself. So back to you.
Oh, thank you. Okay, everybody. Well, that is another episode done and dusted. Please like this episode, share this episode, subscribe, whatever platform you're on, share it out so that other women out there can hear through all the noise of all the other podcasts out there and hear voices at midlife that are encouraging them that their life can rock at any age. So thank you again, Robyn, and I'll see you all next week.
Pleasure, Kat.